Hey kids, thanks so much for coming back. I am Lisa Deets and this is all the Deets. I am so appreciative of you coming to watch my videos. You have no idea. I really appreciate it. If you like them, please hit the like and subscribe so you're notified when new ones come out. I don't have a set schedule yet, but I'm working on that. I'm trying to get a little bit of content on the site before we do a definite schedule. I've even done a couple shorts. Now they could use some work. So let me give you my usual disclaimer. Get a bottle because I'm still going to cheat on my teleprompter every now and then. I am going to look over here, and that's only because we all know how many times I have filmed a video and not been running. It was not recording. I don't know what goes on with that shit because I'm pretty sure that I turn it on and it just shuts off. I don't know. Also, I have a new little ensemble here for my camera. So if you see this, don't panic. Don't adjust your set. Just not an earthquake. It's just my camera doing its own thing, which is what everything does around here. I don't want to take too long to jump into tonight's story because for some reason there's a dog on the other side of the door who wants in. There's a cat on this side of the door that wants out. Everybody wants to call my cell phone. Everybody wants to knock on the office door. And if one more person bothers me, I'm just going to fucking snap. So anyway, tonight's story is a little bit different. It is a death penalty case. I did say that I was not going to ever give you my opinion on that. I am going to fall back on that because you can't help but give your opinion sometimes. There is no such thing as I'm for or I'm against because every case is different. Every circumstance is different. Every relationship to the case is different. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Okay, so tonight is about Dustin John Higgs. You may have heard of him because it was in well, no, I guess it's about 20 years, so maybe you really haven't heard of him. He was born March 10th, 1972 in Poughkeepsie, New York. His parents were Alfonso and Marilyn Higgs. When he was about 8 years old, Mom was diagnosed with cancer and she passed by the time he was 10. In 1991, he relocated to Laurel, Maryland, and I'm really not going to spend any time at all on his childhood or his teen years. There's just not enough time because there is so much content to come with this case. But from the actions later on, you'll be able to put all that together in your head. I'm sure nobody here was a stellar grade A student who was misunderstood. So I'm just going to jump right to the core of the case tonight because, like I said, it is detailed and I just want to get right on it. We're going to go right to January 26th of 1996. Mr. Higgs lives at 13801 Briarwood Drive, in Laurel, Maryland. He is 24 years old. He hangs out with a man named Willis Mark Haynes, who is 22. He was born in 1974. He's 2 years younger than Higgs. And there's a third guy. His name is Victor Gloria. I did not look up his birthday because I don't give a shit because he's a major douche. So you'll see that through the whole story. He's like the biggest douche here. Anyway, so January 26th of 1996, the three guys are hanging out together at Mr. Higgs' apartment. They have dates. Yay, triple date. Woo! These are young guys, 22, 24 years old. This is what they do. I did see that between 91 and 96, somewhere along the line, and that is like a big period for young guys. So somewhere between, that time, Higgs has a child. He meets a woman and has a child. I'm not going to give you her name. I don't think they were married. One story said they were. I don't think they were. All the way up to the end here, there is no mention of a wife. So we're just going to assume that he was not married. And for the sake of the child, even though he's probably an adult, he's got to be an adult by now, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring that up. I mean, it's not hard to find, but I don't want to be the one to spit it out there. So we'll just go past that. This night they have this triple date with these girls. They jump in his van, which is a Mazda MPV van, which I look up and it's a minivan. Yeah, a minivan. Cool, right? I guess. So they all jump in the minivan and they head over to Washington, D.C. and they are going to pick up their dates. Their dates are, and I'm going to read this, Tangi Jackson, I love that name, Tangi, Tamika Black, and Mishan Chin. Tangi is 21, Tamika is 19, to minor, and Mishan, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Chin was 23. Higgs knew Tangi. They had they were not date. They did not date. He just knew her, and it was their idea to get together. And then she would bring her two friends. He would bring his friend and his douchebag, and I'm sorry, his two friends, and they would have this triple date. So that's what they did. They went over and they picked him up. They were heading back. They stopped. Excuse me. They stopped at a liquor store. They got some alcohol. Somebody along the line had some weed. It said that at the apartment they were drinking alcohol and smoking cigars of weed. Cigars, is that like cigars or like cigars? I don't know. I guess it's a lot of weed, or so I hear. I don't know anything about weed. No, I'm kidding, I really don't. Well, a little, but anyway. So during this night, while they're all, they all paired off like couples do, and Tangi and Dustin get into an argument. It said that he made some kind of sexual advance towards her. I don't know what kind, but whatever it was, it pissed her fuck off. She was furious. She goes out of the kitchen. She grabs a knife. They're fighting. Now, it does not say if they are physically fighting or verbally fighting, but Willis Mark Haynes comes out of the other room. He was in the other room with Tamika. He comes into this room and he de-escalates the fight. He gets the knife from her, and but she's having none of it. She's like, fuck this, I'm out of here, and she's leaving. She's pissed. And you know, girls, how we are. If one of us is leaving, we're all leaving. We're not leaving and leaving anybody behind. So all three of them are leaving. Now, I just want to tell you, when she was leaving, Higgs said, Gloria is the one who says most of this. Higgs doesn't say much, really, at all, doesn't even show much emotion, even in court. But according to Victor, Gloria, I know you saw me look, get your bottle. On her way out, Tangi stops and she looks at Higgs and she says, I'm going to get you fucked up or robbed. This is what Gloria said. Then he said, or she made some kind of threat. What does that mean? Or she made some kind of threat. Either that's what she said or that's not what she said. Anyway, so in response to that, and then Higgs sees her go out and write down the make, model, and license plate number of his vehicle. This bothers him, okay? He says to the other guys, hey, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to change the N-word to the M-word and say men, and I'm not going to, add all that nonsense in there. But what he said was, hey, I know she knows a lot of guys. She could really get us fucked up. And he said, and he's just like, screw this, and then, Gloria testified in court, and I'm going to read this to you because this is ridiculous. He interpreted Higgs' comments saying that he was upset about her writing down his stuff as his concern for her intention to retaliate against him. Now, there had to have been like a huge objection in the courtroom for this guy, like just interpreting the other guy's thoughts. Like, oh, that's what he thought she meant. He doesn't know that. However, the actions would say. So what happens is Higgs goes to the end table and he grabs his silver .38 revolver, sticks it in his pocket, and as he's walking out the door to get in the van, he says to the other two guys, let's go. And they go with him. Now, Haynes is in the passenger seat, Higgs is driving, and Victor Douchebag is in the middle. It's 3-row seating, it's a minivan, and he's in the middle. Okay, so they're going down the road, and the girls are on foot. They're right down the road. Now, there's a little discrepancy. Someone had said that they saw them at 11:30 walking. One story, not one person. Another story said it was 3:30. So they catch up to the girls. They're on foot. They're right up the road. The girls are laughing and talking, and the neighbors heard them laughing and talking as they were walking up the road. And they pull over, and Higgs tells Haynes to go ahead and get them, go get them in the van. So he did. He went out and he talked to them, and it doesn't say what he said to them, but when they got back in the car, they thought they were getting a ride home. Okay, now Gloria had said, I'm just moving this up here so I could see this. Gloria had said that when the girls got in the van, he said that he heard, that Haynes and Higgs were in the front seat. First, he said that they were whispering something, and he said he couldn't hear them. Okay. Then he said he heard I want you to remember that he said he couldn't hear them, so I'm going to tell you what he said. He said he could not hear them, although he did hear the girls behind him talking amongst themselves. And again, they confirmed that they thought they were getting a ride home. Okay, now later on, Gloria would say that Higgs, I don't want to get ahead of myself, he did not pull off to the exit that would take him to Washington, D.C. to take the girls home. Instead, he pulled into, and I have to read this because I don't know how to pronounce it, Patuxent National Wildlife Refuge. It is a park, and it's federal property, so it's under the jurisdiction of the United States Park Police. I didn't even know it was a police force, but I guess it is. Anyway, so Higgs pulls over to a secluded area in this park, and the girls say to him, "Oh, what are you going to make us walk home?" And he says, something like that. Now, this is where Gloria changes his story and says that Higgs handed Haynes the gun when they were whispering earlier and said, "Make sure they're dead." So Haynes gets out of the car with the girls. They put the 3 girls out of the car. He gets out with them. Gloria, and again, Gloria's the one talking about everything. According to him, when they get out of the van, he said he heard a little bit of talking, and then he heard 1 gunshot. He said he wiped the mist off the back window in time to see Haynes shoot the 2nd girl. He said he looked up to Higgs, who had his hands on the steering wheel but was watching the murders in the rearview mirror, and he said to him, "What are you doing?" And he didn't respond. Okay. Now, 1 second here. Oh, he said, after he said that to Higgs, when he didn't respond, he just put his head down, and then he heard a girl screaming, and then there was nothing else. He just heard, after the last few shots and the scream, Haynes got back in the van. He closed the door, and one of them commented that they have to get rid of the gun. Okay, so Higgs drove away. He left the bodies laid in a desolate road. It was wet, it was cold, and they just left them there. Fuckers, right? Fuckers. So they drive down to I have to look so I know the name of the river. They drive down to the Anacostia River, and one of them, he never knows which one does anything, and I don't know how they relied on him for anything, but one of them got out and threw the gun out. They went back to the apartment. They wiped down everything, liquor bottles, CD tapes, everything they could imagine. Anything they thought that they couldn't get the girls' DNA or fingerprints away from, they stuffed in a bag, and they threw it in the garbage. And, they all got cleaned up. And they, Higgs and Haynes took Victor Gloria, dropped him off at a fast food restaurant, and told him that if he spoke about it, they were going to kill him. So that's where that went. So let me just see here. Yeah, about 4:30 that morning, this is where I was concerned about the timeline, where someone was saying it was 11:30, but the bodies were found at 4:30. They were strewn across the road. One said they were strewn across the road. One said they were directly in line, which I imagine after he shot one, the other one probably left. So did they move them into a line, or I'm not sure. But anyway, someone found them, and they had called the park police. They found the 3 bodies. Tangie's day planner and her purse were there. Her day planner was outside of her purse, and on it, it had Higgs's name, his nickname, which was Bones, by the way, and it had his vehicle information, the shit he was worried about. So she did write it down. He was right about that. She did write it down. Let me just see here. Oh, his tag number. She wrote 13801, which was his address. Mazda 769 GRY. That was his address and his tag number. So she knew his shit. A .38 caliber wad cutter bullet was also found there. Wad cutter bullets are only used for target practice, so I don't know. I guess tough guy couldn't get fucking bullets. I don't know. But it's terrible. Now, according to the medical examiner, let me just read this for you here. Tanji and Tamika had each been shot once in the chest and once in the back. I believe Miss Shawn was shot in the head. 2 of the 3 women, I believe it was, let me see here, Chin and Jackson, so it would have been Tanji and Miss Shawn, actually had signs that they were run over by the car. All three women had blunt force trauma injuries. However, I have not seen anything in any story anywhere that they beat them up. The police said that the coroner said he didn't know if maybe they were hit by the car, they ran them over, or if they had hurt themselves when they fell. I mean, I know someone who was shot, and when he fell, he broke his wrist in six pieces. Didn't even know he broke it for like 3 days. Of course, he was in the hospital, but so I mean, maybe they had been injured that way. But the coroner said that it was, it was bad. It was very bad. And it was just such a wide story, because at first the cops were thinking, was this drug related? They looked to see if they were witnesses to any other crime. They were not. These were nice girls, I mean, they were young girls, of course. Young girls do stuff, sometimes dumb stuff, whatever. But these were nice girls. So there was just nothing that would have given the police any idea that they would welcome that kind of lifestyle that would bring this kind of violence, because I mean, they were just nice girls. They received wide media coverage because of the number of victims. There was 3, which is just awful. And let's not forget, this was a crime on a federal jurisdictional area, which means it was federal property, which means the big boys are coming in. Okay. Now let's just see. I don't know why I cheat on my notes, because I just tell you, I change them around when I talk to you anyway. I don't even know why I do it. I should probably just do one sentence, because that's what they said to do. But anyway, so the federal government decides to prosecute in the U.S. District Court of Maryland, which means the state of Maryland is not going to prosecute. Normally, that's what would happen. If you commit a crime in Maryland, Maryland's going to prosecute you, but this is federal property, and it goes right to the feds. I have seen instances where the feds have let the state do it, but usually they go where whoever could get them the toughest penalty. Now, there was a couple things going on at this time, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Now, these guys are now playing in the big leagues. There's no more bullshit. Feds don't fuck around. Okay, so we're going to insert the FBI theme song right here somewhere. Well, really not. Okay, so the police did question Dustin, which was really weird, because I don't know if it was a coincidence or what it was, but it had said, like when I was reading the stories in the 3 years, because it did go cold for a little while, in the years between it happening and it being solved, they literally were talking about no details. They were wondering if because one of the girls had been stalked by an ex-boyfriend. They had wondered if it was that, or if, all these different scenarios that they were questioning. So I don't know, but they did go to Dustin's house. Now, Dustin and this girlfriend that he had the mother with, they had done some credit card, bank fraud shit, whatever, in 1995, the prior year. So the cops, when they came there, he was already a suspect for this. So they asked him about Tangi. He said, yeah, he had seen her. He knew her. He talked to her that night. Nothing to do with her death. I guess they believed him, but they searched his apartment because of this fraud shit that he had done with his ex-girlfriend, who, by the way, I'm assuming she was his ex-girlfriend, who, by the way, he threatened, or so she says, that he told her if she identified him from pictures that they were showing her, that he would kill her. So he was a charmer. Yeah, he was real charming. But anyway, so they searched his apartment anyway, and lucky for them, this bastard had cocaine and guns. Bingo. Yay. Hot dog, So eventually he pleads guilty to that. He's arrested. He pleads guilty, and he's sentenced to 17 years in prison. He goes to jail. Mr. Higgs goes to jail. Sounds like a children's book. So he goes to jail, and these other 2 idiots, obviously, are just dumb as rocks, because they're still getting in trouble. Okay? So, oh, excuse me. Let me see here. Oh, yeah, I even have it written down that they're idiots. Oh, I wrote they're obviously not fast learners. So they get arrested for some drug charges, and I don't know what happens, but they start singing like Tweety on meth, like yip, 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 yip. Listen, we all know whoever sings first gets the best deal. Apparently, Victor was a fucking opera singer, because he never shut up. He just never shut up from the very beginning. The FBI called it an incredible, they said they learned so much in this, and they quoted an incredible interview, because I guess the guy just wouldn't stop talking. So that's how they found out what happened. That's how they found out about all three of the girls. Now, let me just see here. Oh, yeah, of course. He offered to repeat that story for the courts in exchange for a plea bargain. Dumbass didn't even ask for full immunity, because that's what I'd have done, especially if any of his stories were true. Any of his 22 stories were true. Now, Willis Haynes, I don't know what the fuck he's thinking. He admits to his part wholeheartely. He's good to go. You know, he doesn't even really deny it much. You know, Victor. Let me see here. Oh yeah. Okay. So here's what happened when Victor confessed. All of that evidence that excuse me, not Victor, I apologize. When Haynes confessed, everything he said was the evidence they used against Higgs. He didn't even get his own shit. Like, they just used Haynes's stuff. Okay. Now, let me just talk about co-defendants and jailhouse snitches. I do not think you should be able to use them ever. If you're giving someone a plea deal, they're going to tell you whatever you want to fucking hear. Come on. It's the same thing I said once before about surveys. If you're paying for it, you're going to get what you want. If he's getting what he wants, you're going to get what you want. Okay? And I don't, and this is what they did in this case too, but I'll explain that in a minute. I just don't understand how a prosecutor can go into a courtroom and tell them that you are so bad, like I'm talking about jailhouse snitches, that you are so bad that you do not deserve to be free and you have to go to jail. But now that you're in jail, now all of a sudden they bring you out because you're going to testify against your cellmate, because for some reason everybody walks into jail and splurts everything out, which I don't think is true. But now they're going to use this same freaking guy, but now he's a saint and you're supposed to believe everything he says so you can put this guy who's so bad and get him off the streets. The fuck is that, right? I have never seen a jailhouse snitch that I believed, and I've seen a ton of them. Never, never, never. I've had them admit to me on tape that they were lying, that they said what the police told them to say. I don't trust them. They shouldn't be allowed to use them, but they do. Also, this whole defendant thing, whoever sings the loudest gets the best deal, is absolutely true. Whoever sings first. And you have to be careful because, you know, the police, and this got me banned when I put this on Facebook. I said, if the police lie to you, it's part of their job. If you lie to them, it's a felony, which is the truth. They could tell you anything they want when they interrogate you. They could say whatever they want. Hey, you got to get the job done, right? But if you lie to them, it's a felony. That doesn't make any sense to me, you know. But, I mean, you have to be careful because they're tricky, guys. When I first started taking law classes, like, you know, a lot of them are taught by officers and stuff, and they'll tell you all these secrets, and you're just like, man, that's really smart, you know, like about like moving the table so that you don't feel like you have protection. Like, it's really, you're pretending they're your friend, and the best thing they do is they'll go out and they'll come back and they'll say, hey, Joe Schmo in the next room, he said none of it was him, it was all you. And you're like, what? That prick bastard. No, it was the... And then there you go. That show, the first 48 hours, should be the first 48 snitches, because everybody snitches on that show. I had to stop watching it. It was annoying. It's like, dude, you know, get off behind the desk and crack a case. Do it by yourself for once, just one, you know? But anyway, I'm getting way off the topic here. This is what happens. Okay, and I don't approve of that at all. I just don't trust them. Okay, so now we have this Victor Gloria who changes his story numerous times. You know, he implicates everybody else. He, somewhere along the line, you know, although Haynes did admit it, he still went for trial. He still took a trial. He did not plead. He took a trial, and he was convicted. But during Higgs's trial, first they said, wait, let me read it because I don't want to screw it up. I just can't get over how they just use the same evidence. They use the same evidence that the shooter had against the non-shooter. Remember, Higgs never shot anybody. He never killed anybody in this instance. He never killed anybody, period. He never shot anybody in this crime. He never got out of the car. So now here, several reasons for Gloria's, I say Gloria, it sounds like a girl, but it's not, it's Victor Gloria. But in his earliest statements to police, he said he was passed out in the back seat. Now he's passed out. So how does he know? So he went from hearing them talk to not being able to hear what they were saying to being passed out and waking up after the girls were already shot or waking up to gunshots. So which is it? So, but when he testifies against Higgs, he does not say that. He says he hears Higgs say, make sure they're dead. Now Higgs is the ringleader. Now he's the boss. Now they're saying that he threatens Haynes, that he bullies him, he threatens him, he's his boss. Now he's the boss. And now he's more culpable than anybody because now it's him. And the prosecutor even says, no matter what you say here with all these things, if you take him out of the picture, the girls are alive because now they're claiming that he ordered it. And this is all coming from this Gloria douchebag. So despite that, he changes his story again and again and again. He's the government's key witness. How do you have a key witness who's an absolute fucking liar? I mean, you can't even, but they did. That's what they did. Shortly after Higgins' trial, and this is what I was saying before, at Haynes's trial, which was in August of 2000, the government argued that he was not intimidated by Higgs, that it was all him, that he got out and killed the girls by himself, okay, that he was not told to do it, and he was culpable 100%. They got their conviction, okay? The same exact prosecutor who went over and prosecuted Higgs now changed the story and insisted that Higgs threatened him, bullied him, he was the boss. You can have it both ways? I don't think so. But that's what they're allowed to do. That was his case with Higgs. So now poof, Higgs is this big ringleader. He's the big boss. He's the one who ordered these girls to be killed. And this was the same prosecutor. First said that it wasn't true, and then he said it was. So I don't know how they could do that. But Willis eventually, somewhere down the line, did sign paperwork. I believe they said it was in 2002. They signed paperwork. He signed paperwork stating that Higgs had never bullied him, that he did everything he did, that they were partners, friends, whatever, that he never bullied him, he never threatened him, he was not afraid of him. So now I'm not sure what that means, but I'm assuming that means with the killings too, right? So, he's pretty much... So Victor's testimony was everything I had already said. And right, none of it makes any sense. This guy was a fucking nut job. Nothing makes any sense. But it worked for him, In the closing statements of the sentencing hearing for Higgs, they asked for life without parole because he didn't shoot anybody. They said it's punishment every day in every way for him to be in jail. I know I'm reading it. They also argued that against that he was characterized as the kingpin, that he was characterized by the calculated nature of the death penalty. I don't know if I'm even reading that. They argued against what he characterized as the calculated nature of the death penalty, saying that the death penalty was not going to help anyone. Putting Higgs to death was not going to take any burden off of the parents. It's the parents or the other relatives, I apologize. It wasn't just parents. There was sisters and siblings and uncles as well. But they were saying that was not going to take it away. As a matter of fact, one reporter who reported on this story years later said that he had spoken to many victims' families, and that they had all, not one of them said that the death penalty had given them any relief. Revenge, I'm sure, but not relief. They said they never had any closure. Of course, none of this went on when the trial, whatever. But, the prosecution said the opposite. She said that, let me see, she pulled out a large rock, and she said that this is the burden that lays on the hearts of the family or the minds of the family, the victims' families, and that to remove that, they would have to kill Dustin Higgs. So, she got her own way. They did, it was a 2-week trial. It ended on October 11th, 2000. He was convicted of 3 homicides, kidnapping, all kinds of stuff. I have the whole list later, I'll tell you. And on October 26th, after 7 hours of deliberation, he was given the death penalty. And again, he didn't kill anybody. And please don't think for 1 second that this is his story, because this is about the girls. And it pissed me off because I kept trying to find pictures of them. You'll see the one picture I have. It's the shittiest picture in the world. It's from an old newspaper. I couldn't find, there was a mention of a picture that I believe it was Tamika's mom had painted of her. And it was at the funeral. And I wish I could have found it. I bet it was beautiful. I couldn't find it. But you know what? No matter where you put their names in, all you get are these ass clowns. You don't get the girls anywhere. Just this one picture. And I mean, I looked for hours and hours and hours and couldn't find anything. And it's so sad that these victims have nothing. There's nothing that I could find. Although I'm sure now that I said that, it'll probably be right in front of me. But I couldn't find anything for the girls. All I wanted was a picture, and I just couldn't find anything. The picture I have that you see, you're not even going to be able to see the girls in it. It's just so bad. An old newspaper. But so the families were relieved. They said Higgs showed no remorse, and they had no problem with him being executed. Now, according to this same reporter who I mentioned before, he had said, that Higgs never showed any kind of feeling at all, no emotion. And you know how that goes. If you don't show any, you're heartless, and it must have been you, or if you show too much, you're a bad actor. But anyway, he said even when they sentenced him to death, he just never showed any emotion. But I know he did fight with his appeals. He has always claimed his innocence. He had never changed that. He always said, and I mean, I get what he's thinking because he didn't get out of the car. Did he tell him to kill them? I don't know. I know some states have the law of parties, which means if we're all in the car, we all did it. But Mr. Gloria Douchebag didn't get much, So let me just say they did execute Mr. Higgs January 17th, 2021. And he was executed by lethal injection in Terre Haute, Indiana at the federal penitentiary. His last words were, "I would like to say that I am an innocent man." And I think that he died believing that. He was buried in his hometown of Poughkeepsie, New York. He had a large family. They were devastated. Again, I want you to understand that this is not about him. I don't understand how we are killing people who have not killed anyone, or if there was even 1 inch of a doubt that they just went by this one guy's testimony. It just didn't make any sense to me. So this case is believed to be the 3rd death penalty prosecution in Maryland since the federal sanction aimed at drug kingpins. Now, this was enacted in 1988. So, but I want you to remember I'm going to read this here first, but before I do that, in 1988, when they added this, they added 40 more crimes, which would make someone eligible for the federal death penalty. Okay. But I want to give you a little bit on Higgs' background. So this is what I said before about how you could piece this together. In 1995, it seems to be where everything happened for him. I don't know if he was having a shitty year or he was just escalating for this to come. But in 95, in November of 1995, which is 3 months before the murder, he got into an argument, outside the Chiconian nightclub in Washington, D.C., while driving his car, he shot out the window of the vehicle, and he was charged in the shooting by the D.C. Superior Court. December 10th, which was, 20 days later, whatever, he and Haynes fired shots while Haynes was having an argument in Laurel, Maryland with Rodney Sims about a woman. He and Haynes were charged in Maryland State Court for shooting. April 1997, which was a year after he killed these girls. He pleaded guilty to that shooting and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. We're on the death penalty, on the death row. That was stupid. So the trigger man, Haynes, what happened to him? Well, he went to trial. I'm going to read this a little bit. He was 22. He was convicted in May of 2000. He was convicted of homicide, kidnapping. Let me see. He was 3 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and firearm violations. His defense claims that he deserved Listen to this. This cracks me up. Leniency because Haynes suffered through a horrific childhood. Didn't we all? He was subjected to physical and emotional abuse from his mother. His mother was a diagnosed schizophrenic. His father was arrested 57 times by the time he was a teenager, and he began drinking at age 7, tried to kill himself at age 11, and he was shuffled in and out of foster homes his entire life. I don't give a shit. It's no excuse. Fuck that. That's no excuse to kill somebody. Somebody's child, no. They did spare his life. He got life without parole plus 45 years. Now, in case you're wondering why they do that, in case the life sentence would be overturned or that conviction would be thrown out, he's still not getting out of jail. He still has 45 years. That's why when you see them sentence someone to 700 years, it's because if they have 6 convictions and they throw 5 out, that last one's still going to keep them in jail, you know? So Haynes he was the only one that I saw that gave an apology. He will never leave prison alive. I'm okay with that. Here's what he said. Being led away after the sentence, Willis said, "I am sorry to my family, sorry to my wife." Wait, a wife? Yeah, sorry to the victims' families. I really don't have much more to say. Ass fuck. Anyway, he's in the U.S. Penitentiary at Beaumont. That's where it says he is. Another one said he was in the U.S. Penitentiary in California. Doesn't matter where he is because he's never leaving there. And if he does, it'll be in a body bag. Now, Victor Gloria, this douchebag. Okay. At the time that this murder happened, there was a lot of federal shit going on that the federal government were trying. This is so weird. Let me read it to you. It's so weird. The Department of Justice had been preparing to ramp up executions less than a year before the murders. In July of 1995, it was said that federal prosecutors were on the lookout, and that's this one broad. I'll tell you who she is in a minute. I mean, this lady, sorry. Federal prosecutors were on the lookout for cases that might warrant the death penalty. They were looking for death penalty cases. How fucked up is that? They were looking for them. Here's what they said. Lynn Battaglia. She was the U.S. attorney at the time. I looked up her resume. Holy shit, it's this fucking big. She did everything. Here's what she says. It could be a gang lord or a murderous carjacker or a drug smuggler. But sometimes in the coming months, U.S. attorney, she expects to take the unprecedented step of seeking the death penalty against someone for committing a federal crime in Maryland. She's looking for it. She's looking for it. I don't get it. Also, on a side note, in 1994 there was a congressional study that studied death penalty and all that entails towards I just went brain dead. Anyway, geez, I just went brain dead. What happened? The study found that 89% of the cases in which federal prosecutors were seeking the death penalty were men of color, black men and Latino men. Let's see. Under the 1988 Anti-Drug Abuse Act were all African American and Latino, all the death penalties. So Battaglia told the newspaper that the public was demanding death penalty prosecutions, which was not true because even in that congressional study, even the police said it was not a deterrent. That's the word I was looking for. It was not a deterrent for crime. It did not do anything. It did not help anything. You know, I know that at this time, and this was how many years ago, it was $340,000 at that time just for the public defender for a death penalty case. Now it has to be in the millions. I would think in the millions. So not only are we paying to prosecute it, we're paying to defend it, we're paying for this. Come on, it's just crazy. So she also said, I hope that we never have to consider it, but there are circumstances where you have to take people out of society. Okay, she's not talking about taking people out of society, but just talking about taking them out of the planet. There's a difference. And is that necessary? I don't know. I'm not a judge. So anyway, she went on to be a judge and 400 other things because like I said, her list is long. She was all over the place. I'm concerned that she was a judge. I think that I'm just concerned that she was a judge because, I mean, really, when you have someone's life in your hands and that's your thought, you're so nonchalant about they have to be taken out of society. Stupid bitch. I'm sorry, I take that back. Anyway, so there was also a PI. There was an investigator who Higgs's team, his defense team, had hired, and her name was Sharon Weidenfeld. Now, she went to interview Gloria, who was in jail. She interviewed him. Wait, first, before that, she interviewed his ex-girlfriend. Here's what she said. Remember when I told you to remember that he was drinking? She said he told her that he was never awake during any shots. He didn't know any of that. That she said he was a lightweight, that every time he drank, he passed out. He could not hold his liquor. Now, remember, these are young guys, at this time. That's what she said. She said there was no way that anything that he said in court was true. And later on, when they went to interview Gloria in jail, he verified that. He said, absolutely. He said, I wasn't even awake. He said, there's no reason why I'm even in jail. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't even awake. So now that makes him sound like he's innocent. Then you want to punch him in the fucking throat because all this testimony that he gave against these other two men. Don't get me wrong. Haynes is where he is, but Haynes is the one who shot him. I just don't think that, well, whatever. But, it wasn't my option. But, so they were saying that she said to him, she said, well, listen, if that is the story, then does this mean everything that you said in court is untrue? And all he said was, that was the police, which what leads you to believe that the police told him to say it, which I guess stranger things have happened. So he corroborated her interview, the girlfriend's interview. Her name was Katrina. I'm not going to give you her last name. He said that was the police. So here's the thing. Gloria pled guilty to an accessory after the fact. He was given, I don't know how many years he was given, I think 7. He was released February 2nd, I looked, 2006. Free as a bird. Enjoy yourself. Good luck. Good luck. Jackass. So that's where they are now. Gloria is who knows where. I looked for an obituary. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one. So he's probably still around harassing people. These girls, I wish I could have found a better picture. I'm going to put it up when I edit right here. Tamika graduated from Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenbelt in 1994. At the time of her death, she was a teacher's aide at National Presbyterian School, which is a private school for kindergarten through 6th grade. Now, she was planning on returning to college to take up education. The woman who hired her, Mrs. Lake, said that she had reservations about hiring Tamika because she was so young. But she said the minute she saw her with the kids for 5 minutes, she said she knew she was the best teacher she ever saw. She said her laughter was amazing and that her laughter will ring forever in those hallways. At her funeral, her mother had painted this picture. I wish I could see it. I bet it was so beautiful. I would love to see it. If I could find it, I'll let you know. Or if you find it, let me know. They said that it was in the funeral parlor, and it was surrounded by cards and pictures because these are little kids that she taught, that they drew for her, and one drew a son that was crying, and it said that her her hugs were like being touched by an angel. I thought, man, oh my God, that's so sad. I would have started crying. I would not have been able to handle that. The funerals of these girls were attended by 900 people, 1,000 people. I believe the other one, Tangi, I believe her funeral was private, I think. One of them was private. Let me see here. I'm just reading the part about it's so sad, the part about the hug like an angel touched you. Oh, it's terrible. Miss Shan Chin, she worked at a children's choir in a Temple Hills church, and she also worked in a neighborhood daycare center. So they were all involved with children and teaching. I believe that I want to say Tangi also went to Eleanor Roosevelt School as well. And I believe one article said she was employed there. Another one didn't, so I really couldn't make out what they were saying, but I think she was into teaching as well. They said these were 3 very wholesome girls. They had loving families. They had friends. And they were young. They were, 19 and 21 and 23, and and it's just such a horrible thing. I'm just so sad that I couldn't find more pictures for them. Like, why I couldn't find pictures of them, you know. But if you know of any, please, by all means, post them in the comments. Now, I don't know which ones of the relatives had gone to see Higgs' execution. I know his family was there. He had a very large family, and but they had asked Jackson's sister, Tangi's sister, about the execution. And here's what I'll tell you what she said. This will be the last thing I'm going to say. She said, "On one hand, I felt we were finally going to get justice, but on the other, I felt sad for the family. They are now going to go through the pain we've experienced." Yeah, so it's just sucky all the way around. So the death penalty. I don't really have any thoughts on it anyway. I don't know. I mean, I think that if we were going into court and there was this child killer there, or whatever, this crazy murder, and he was convicted, and they take him out back and they shoot him. Oh, they're killing a monster. But now these are people who have been on death row 25 years. They've been redeemed. They have friends. They found God. They this, they that. And then we have protesters. So everybody has their own thoughts on that. I don't have one specific, I'm not pro or against. It just depends on, all I know is I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, But I'm sure if one of these ladies was my sister or my daughter, I don't know how I'd feel then. I just don't. But that is our story for today. Mr. Higgs was executed. Let me know what else you want to do, what other story you would like me to do. I am hoping that I'm getting better with these. I'm really trying. I'm going to try to do another one tomorrow. Don't quote me because I don't know if I'll get it out or not. I'm going to try. But I was thinking about doing this one. I saw this guy nurse who killed like 400 people. It's crazy people, right? It's just crazy. Anyway, I am Lisa Deets. This is All the Deets, and I thank you so, so, so much for stopping by. Please, again, like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.